you have a passion about something, it gives you a purpose,
It does.
and
It kind
it
of drives you to be the best you can at it.
yeah, and honestly, in today's age, since we have so much accessibility to things, that's why that's why I chose to change my major to art from business administration in college because I really just I wanted to further what I'm good at, and my mentors have taught me more about business than I've learned in school. Like,
Especially because like it is like the it's it's the practical application of all the theories you would have learned in class,
yeah,
which is far more educational and far more informative.
yeah, because you're getting out there and you're getting into it, rather than like learning about it and preparing for what the situation might be.
Yeah, because that's
You're
all just
dealing with the
academic.
situation directly, and that you learn a lot quicker. And honestly, getting the mistakes, that's the thing. Is I notice a lot of school classes want to teach kids how to do stuff so they don't make mistakes, but you need to.
Yeah, I mean, it is because you learn far more from failure than you do from success. If you just succeed the first time,
Mm.
if it was just too easy, then that's just not as rewarding, I think.
Oh no, not at all.
When you have to struggle and fail,
Mm.
and then you fail, but then when you finally succeed on that third, fourth try,
Yeah,
it's far more rewarding than getting it right off the bat.
yeah, totally. All right, I'm gonna go in three, two, one. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Artisan in Depth podcast. I got a pretty awesome guest with us today. This man, John McWilliams. I've met him a couple times over at the Proletariat. Make sure if you guys haven't been to the Proletariat Gallery and Public House here in Galveston, go check it out. There's a new artist every 6 weeks for Art Walk. Always come check out Art Walk if you ever get a chance. What's up, John?
Hey, it is an awesome day. I am very excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Also, that's a great plug. I love the Proletariat. I live in Dallas and I come down here every month, and I spend a lot of time at the Proletariat or the Mod. So
Yeah.
there's some great people there.
And speaking of the mod, back with us again, we got Stephanie Bass,
Hey y'all.
and she's actually the head baker over there at Mod Coffee Shop, killing it, making delicious treats. Y'all need to go buy all of them, and make sure before you leave you tell Stephanie how awesome she is at making desserts. You filthy animals. All right.
Just remember to wash your hands, y'all.
Yes, everyone wash their hands, damn it. These are troubling times. Wash your hands. I mean, you need to always, even after the coronavirus is gone, keep washing your hands.
You know, just don't touch your face or even like other people's faces. Just keep your hands off faces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fist bumps and hand sanitizer, guys.
Air fives. Air fives all the
fi-
way.
Oh, air fives are good.
Vulcan salutes.
Or true salute, depending on who you know.
Live long and prosper. Yeah.
Right. All right, John. So I guess John McWilliams is a sneakerhead, and also a comic book head or comic book fiend.
Comic book nerd.
Comic book nerd.
Although I like Fiend.
Comic book fiend sounds fresh, right?
Yeah.
I almost wrote that down when I was doing the notes here. But I guess since we were talking the other day, we could just jump into talking about sneakers. So
Yeah.
as a custom to shoe designer myself, that was something I know we really vibed on at first. You know, you were showing me your collection, and also your future collection, things that you do want. So I guess for everybody, what got you into collecting shoes?
Well, I've always had a love for art and any kind of graphic art because part of what got me into comics was the art.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's kind of, when you look at the cover of a comic, the art is just foremost. It's right there and it just catches your eye. And I'm not a loud dresser. I don't wear bright, vibrant coats or pants because for me that's too much surface area.
Mm-hmm.
But shoes, on the other hand, it's a nice little splash of color, a little splash of personality that I can throw at the bottom of my outfit, and it's also functional.
Mm-hmm.
So I like having that bit of art on my person that actually has a purpose. And I tend to go towards the more wild shoes, some of them more like exclusive or premium shoes. that are made out of unusual materials or were done in collaboration with a famous artist or a fashion designer. So I just like that self-expression that I can throw at the bottom of my clothing. That's why
Yeah.
I got into them.
Absolutely, and that's really cool. That's kind of humbling to hear. There's people like that like the crazy shoes, because sometimes whenever I'm trying to sell because all my shoes are pretty much crazy. But whenever trying to sell that, sometimes people are like, "Oh, like it doesn't match," and I'm like, "Exactly, that's the point."
Yeah.
Like they just look like it's supposed to be eye catching. They're eye catching shoes. And then I like you were showing me some of your shoes the other day. The ones that stuck out to me are the Nikes you have with all the extra checks on them.
Oh yeah, I think that was done in collaboration with a fashion designer in Japan,
Uh-huh.
and I believe it's pronounced Sakai.
Sakai.
Yeah, and I've looked at some of their work, and it definitely is the kind of fashion you'd expect to come out of like the fashion district of Japan. So it's very wild, very loud colors. The coats are very asymmetrical. But yeah, so they did this collaboration with Nike where it has two swooshes, it has two sets of laces, it has two tongues, and all of like the toe guard material, that foxing,
Yeah.
has been kind of layered on sort of haphazardly. So it looks like the shoe was just sort of thrown together almost by accident. Like it looks sloppy, but I like that. I like the idea of a shoe being so different, and I think that's why people tend to maybe not recoil, but it takes them aback because it's so different from what their mind's used to seeing. They don't know how to process it, and so because their mind doesn't know what to do with it, it just kind of lumps it into this category of ugh. Like it's automatically ugly now because I don't know what to compare it to. I've never seen anything like it before, so I'm just gonna put it over here.
Yeah.
And I like that kind of stuff.
No, totally. And honestly, whenever people make kind of like quick generalizations like that without even really absorbing that shows like a lack of creativity to me, to where it's just kind of like, they'll see some, and plus, and that's something my dad had to teach me with art, because I was always confused as a kid when I would draw all these like crazy things, and even in high school I'd draw crazy things and people wouldn't like them. And like me, on one end, I'm like, oh, whatever, I'm gonna do what I want. But like as an artist, we're our own biggest critics. I say that on here all the time. But there would be times where I'd be like, man, why aren't people liking my stuff? Like, what's the deal? And my dad was just like, well, they probably have no imagination, so their brain cannot process what you just did. And honestly, that means you win. And I was like, what? And he's like, just take it. And I was like, okay, that's cool. It's fatherly wisdom.
Well,
there.
really, it's just like good advice for life too. Just to realize that your own self worth can't be determined or can't be lessened by just some stranger on the street. Just some casual observer. If they don't like it, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's
It's totally fine, and honestly, there wouldn't be balance without the haters. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, I think because there's plenty of people, and especially when you're an artist, you don't really need, especially being a successful artist, you really don't need that huge of a following. You just need like a couple good clients, especially returning clients that like your stuff. But honestly, like as long as you like find yourself, I mean, we talk about community on here all the time, but it's like, if you find a community to get into that supports it, and you stay positive and keep making your stuff and keep putting yourself out there, I mean, and you're doing it for a good cause, whether you're like just doing it for the love of art, you're not getting too wrapped up in the money about it. I mean, it'll just default.
Oh, yeah.
Bring you success.
I wish I had said this myself, but I watched a hour-long interview with Conan O'Brien, and I think he went to Oxford, yeah, to sit down with them at their hall and discuss his life and his career and how he got into comedy. And he was talking about fame, and this kind of ties into what you were saying. Is he was saying that if you become famous because you sought out fame, then you're not really going to enjoy it. It's probably just going to make you a miserable person, but
Or it might fizzle out completely.
yeah. But if fame just happens to be a side effect of your art, then that's fine. just don't go seeking out fame for fame's sake. Just it'll happen if it happens, but you should focus more on the art that you're creating, or in his case, his comedy, because he wrote for The Simpsons for a long time, and then all of a sudden, oh, now you're taking over for Johnny Carson, this guy who's never been on TV a day in his life. He's just been in the writer's room, and now he gets to have his own show, and now look where he is.
And they just throw him on there.
Exactly. He didn't seek it out.
No, I mean, I'm similar to like a Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon was doing like small stand up and small theater in New York, and he just randomly got a connection with somebody at SNL and just came through, and like he was the underdog on SNL forever. And honestly, he was kind of notorious in skits because he would always break character. Like Jimmy Fallon had the hardest time keeping a straight face. And especially when he did skits with Will Ferrell, and he got lucky because he was in SNL at a time, which I think it's my favorite time in SNL. Whenever you had like Will Ferrell, Jimmy Fallon, who else you got? I keep forgetting their names. I know all their faces. It's like all the big Horatio Sanz, like a lot of like the big name comedians. Like that period of SNL, like every episode was hilarious. Oh, Molly Shannon, like all of them. Like it's so, and they all had their movies that went with it, like Superstar and like all the silly ones. But from then, Jay Leno's leaving, eventually, and Jimmy Fallon's looking to move out, and then he gets the I keep forgetting. There's like the Late Show, the Late Late Show, the Tonight Show.
There's just far too many of them.
There's all these, there's all the, Johnny Carson used to rule the nighttime, and then there's all these, but like, because whoever took over for Letterman, there's all these shows. I don't even know how we segued on the shows.
I think just talking about art and how it can lead to something amazing if you're not doing it, if you're doing it for just the purity of the art, then you might get lucky. You never know.
Absolutely. Well, that makes more sense where we're going, because that's actually cool. If you just do it for the love of doing it, then like, and honestly, if you don't set your expectations too high, because that's the thing. When people get wanting the fame too much and they set their expectations too high, they're gonna let themselves down like every time.
And also, then the art won't be as pure either. I don't think.
No, because they're not doing it for themselves. They're doing it for, I guess, admiration. Like specifically, like they're not doing it for themselves to get admiration. They're doing it for admiration first, and you're doing it for other people, and then that's not your purest art. That's why, as a musician, that's why I know a lot of bands end up sucking after a while whenever they get signed to music labels, because some labels will make you want to make you do certain music, and it just kills your creativity. Now, some bands can thrive in that. Some bands can still do their own twist and do their own thing. But especially with how the internet is and everything now, I totally tell people just to be independent. Like, go online and learn how to manage yourself and do these things, because that's what we're doing with our band. I mean, if we get approached, I mean, we talked about it before, even if we got approached by a label, we'd probably say no. Because, like, you just don't want to get wrapped up in that.
No, because then you're going to have way too many hands in the kitchen.
Yeah, too many cooks. Steph knows what that is.
Yeah.
Too many cooks in the kitchen. There'll be sometimes Steph and I are making dinner and I'll start it, and Steph will be like, "Can I help?" And she'll jump in, and then she'll completely take over, and I'll be like, "All right, well, let me know when it's ready. I'm gonna go."
Well, I mean,
Well, then it comes out way better than I probably would have made it. So she knows what she's doing.
Well, and also you are the expert here with that, so at least like in this setting, you are the one that knows.
Pretty much.
So on sneakers, I guess, what would be like your the top 3 pairs that you own, and what would be like your number 1 shoe you haven't gotten yet, if you have one?
So my top 3 pair, I'm actually going to bring up.
This is how you know he's a professional. He's got a tablet with all of his pairs of shoes.
I actually make up a little photo sweep where I take a piece of foam core and I curve it up. And I take pictures of all my shoes whenever I get them. So I have a photo gallery of all the ones that I own, so I know which ones I have. Because the more I own, I'll start to forget which ones I own. And I'll start looking at a new pair and go, do I own that pair already? Let me go look at my pictures.
That is the struggle of a true collector, y'all.
Yeah. Same for
At least
comics.
you're organized. At least you're organized about it.
He's very organized.
I'm very, very OCD about that. Okay, so here we go. My favorite pair right now are the SB Dunks, which stands for skateboard, if anyone
Yep.
out there is less initiated.
Yeah, Nike SBs.
The SB Dunk highs and the SB Dunk lows are my favorite. I feel that Nike has in that one class of shoe, I think they have done the most creative work with the Dunks. Yes, there are some Jordans and there are some Air Force Ones that are very creative, but I feel like they do more collaborations with famous artists with the Dunks. And so my favorite of the Dunks is the Finnegan Mooney 15th anniversary shoe that is primarily has a yellow and blue colorway, but it has a red anatomically correct heart sketched on the midsection, and then on the heel, on either curve of the heel on the back, it says "Thump Thump."
Oh yeah. You were wearing these the other night.
Yeah, I really, really, really dig that colorway,
Wow.
and
Oh, 375 on those. Dang.
yeah, so I love that
Yeah, those are awesome.
because it's not traditional, and it's to me that is a true piece of art on my foot.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is my favorite shoe. My second favorite, if I'm going to pick a top two here. Well, did you say top two?
I said top three if you
Ooh,
want to go
okay.
three.
Okay, we can do three. My next favorite shoe are also by Dunks, and it is the Dunk SB High Waffle, where the shoe looks like a waffle cone.
Oh,
So it's
I
got
love
this,
those.
Thank you. It has this I don't know what kind of fabric this is. I'm guessing cotton. But the whole shoe has a textured feel to it where it looks like a waffle cone, and then the swoosh is sort of like a beige translucent plastic, and it has what looks to be chocolate syrup that is drizzling over the swoosh. And it has my favorite kind of sole, which is a gum sole, which is a beige color sole. Instead of being your normal white rubber, it's beige. I feel like they take to staining a lot less. They're easier to keep clean, and to me, just that beige color for the midsole looks a lot nicer than just the stark white.
absolutely. I mean, that's even what I have. I took my shoe off right now to show you.
Oh, you also have the gum.
Yeah, the gum on these, like I love the gum. I also have I have another pair of these that are the same, except they have black laces and it has more of like a yellowish gum rather
Oh,
than
nice.
like a more light brown. But yeah, so I love the dark because whenever the white gum around the edge, the white rubber, it stains up and you always
it
gotta
does.
scrub it and
And yes, there are plenty of cleaning products and preventive measures you can take. But I like it when it's just naturally resistant to being stained. And my third favorite pair of shoes are the Air Force One Low Chinese New Year's, which, like the ones I'm wearing now, are satin.
ooh,
And
I like the stitching on the swoosh.
oh yes, I love that loose stitching. It's very similar to the one on the Finnegan Moonies. But on this, the toe box has a yellow and red floral pattern on it. And then in the midsection, it has sort of like this stained glass window pattern, which is the entirety of the pair of shoes I'm wearing right now. It's the same pattern, only it's a lot more tonal. And then, of course, the back section of the shoe has what almost looks like a red leather snakeskin. Now, the midsole is just plain white, but the whole of the upper is just full of contrast. And I love when they use multiple fabrics on one shoe. I mean, this is all satin, but the ones here on the screen are there's at least four different kinds of material going on there, and I really like that.
That's awesome. I also like how thick the bottom is.
Oh yeah, it's real thick. And for someone who's a little bit short like me, because I'm about 5'3" on a good day if I have posture, they're really nice.
Yeah. Well, so I guess a little bonus before we do your most, your future shoe that you want.
My grails.
Your grail, yeah. So I guess since you've mentioned it already, what shoes are you rocking right now, just so everybody can.
I am currently rocking the Air Force One stained glass Abyss. It is a blue satin shoe that has that same kind of stained glass pattern that's on the midsection of the Chinese New Year Air Force One lows, but in this case, it's 3 shades of blue that that comprise the entire stained glass pattern. So it's more tonal, but it really pops because this blue is a vibrant blue. So if you guys want to go online and look it up yourself, it is the Stained Glass Abyss Air Force Ones, and you'll be able to see it right away because it should be one of the first shoes that comes up when you. It should be one of the first shoes that comes up when you do a search for it.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Man, like just the name sounds fresh. Like
Stained Glass
the
Abyss.
Stained Glass Abyss. That's fresh. So I guess what would be your let's go ahead and do two grails.
Two grails. The grail I want the most, even though it would be very cost prohibitive, would be the Air Force. Sorry, not Air Force. The Jordan 1 Off-White Blue. Have you guys heard of the Off-White?
No.
Off-White is a company, I think, in the UK.
Well, I know Off-White's been huge in the hip hop industry recently. Everybody's talking about Off-White with the pants and the shoes and shirts and accessories.
Well, this was a collaboration they did with Nike, and it's a blue and white colorway. All the blue is leather. All the white seems to be some kind of canvas material.
A little hint of orange is crazy on there.
Oh, yeah. What I like the most is that the swoosh is only stitched on at two locations. One is at the fat outer part of the swoosh, and then at the narrow end where it tapers off to a point.
So you get that shadow behind it.
Yes, exactly. Like it's barely attached.
Wow.
And then on the midsole, it says Air in quotes. And then if you were to look on the inside of the shoe, if you were to look like, it actually has some copy written in black on the white that says Off-White, trademarked for Nike, Air Jordan 1 in quotes. And then it says Beaverton, Oregon, USA, circa 1985. So
wow.
So these are a amazing grail piece, but since I wear a size 9, if I wanted to buy these right now on StockX, they would cost me $1,800. So that's why they are turbo grail. I cannot afford that right now, but I would love them so much.
Wow.
They're just a little out of my price range.
Ooh, just a little bit. Huh?
Yeah.
Man, that's great. And then, so with the other grail, I'm gonna go ahead and take a guess because I remember we were talking about it the other night. Would the other grail potentially be those Freddy Kruegers?
Yes, good memory on that.
Yes.
Very good memory, yeah. And I think those are also dunks, where the shoe looks like his sweater, and it has blood splashed all over it.
Yeah, it has like it's like the dark green and red. But yeah, because his sweater had like dark green stripes, like a dark forest green with like a weird like dark orangey red.
Here it is.
Yeah.
And then there's blood splattering all over then there's a bunch of blood splatter all over the highlight material that's around the sweater material.
But the sweater's got the corduroy, like the corduroy texture with the lines. Those are fresh.
That swoosh really pops.
I love that. But in my size, that would cost
$10,000.
No, $35,000 for my size. So if I had $35,000 to drop right now, I could buy them right now. I don't have $35,000 to drop.
So why are those that expensive?
So this is all. These are all dead stock shoes. So they're no longer in stock, and they will never come back into stock. Nike doesn't usually do. Nike will do a lot of retro shoes where they bring back a design, but as far as like remaking the actual OG shoe, that doesn't happen very often. But with a lot of the dunks, then the dunks are the ones that tend to be the most expensive because, like I said, they do the most artistic collaborations, and even with films.
Yeah.
And so these shoes never come out in stores. You can only get them online on the day of the drop.
Oh wow.
So if you miss them, if you don't get them on the drop, that's it. And so now you have to wait for someone to resell them on StockX. But they also make a very limited amount of these shoes. These are premium exclusive shoes, and usually made with more premium fabrics and materials than your average pair of Jordans or your average pair of Air Force Ones and so there are several factors. There's the fact that the actual fabric is more premium. They are in a very limited run, and they never came out in stores. All kind of comes together to create a very low supply and a very high demand because all the sneakerheads want these shoes on that day they drop, but only a handful of us are actually going to be able to get their hands on them. And so now we have to wait until someone turns around and resells them, and they know that they can ask a high price. They know that the desire for the shoes is high enough to support charging $35,000 because a lot of the hardcore sneakerheads have hundreds of pairs of shoes and drop thousands of dollars
A month.
on just one visit to the store. I'm not in that area. I can't even touch that kind of level of collection. But that's why they're so expensive.
And plus, I guess for those Freddy Krueger shoes, they have to specifically make every single part of it and then put it together.
Exactly. Whereas a pair of Jordan 1s that just got released, they can mass produce those like that because those machines are already set up for making them.
Yeah, exactly. So just make them real quick.
With these, no, you're right. You're right. With these, there's no standard pattern or even like standard printing pattern that they can just go back and just sort of tweak. They have to kind of create them a little bit more from hand.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like it's so crazy, dude.
It is,
man.
And
thank you for sharing your knowledge on the world of shoes, man.
You're very welcome.
Because because me just being a shoe designer, I never really got into like shoe collecting, and
Yeah.
I've always been big into Vans. Just because I mean, I got into skateboarding because the skate park my dad took me to when I was a kid was the Vans skate park.
Oh yeah,
it was at the Marquee in Houston. Now it's a big ass LA Fitness or whatever. But it used to be a Vans skate park. I still have my first skateboard I ever got. That Tony Hawk up there. My dad bought that for me at the Vans.
that is amazing.
At the Vans skate park.
Wow.
And so we go there all the time, but I just associate Vans with me starting skateboarding, and I've been obsessed with it like ever since. And so I have we got our shoe rack over there. The majority of our shoes are Vans. We beat them all up though because we skate.
Well, and also they are a large part of skating culture. Mm-hmm. Just like with the Jordans are a large part of like basketball culture or urban culture.
Mm-hmm. Especially like Nike in general, just ruling the sports realm.
Oh, they do. They just dominate it. Although although with the SBs, since they were designed with skateboarders in mind, did you ever see a lot of people sporting the Dunks?
So I was getting into SBs. So I love Nike SBs. Mm-hmm. I see Dunks a lot more for style. Mm-hmm. I never really see people skating in Dunks because Dunks can be a little bulky. I know some guys that like to skate in bulky shoes, but they grew up wearing like Etnies and DC and Audios and shit with like the big and Osiris, just big clunky goofy shoes. That was a 90s skate thing, is having the baggy pants and the big puffy shoes.
Oh yeah. I remember the pants, but I probably couldn't see the shoes because they were being obscured by the pants.
Exactly. Like watch some old skate videos and they got these just like round, just clunky shoes on. But for Nike SBs, my favorite ones to skate, the Janoskis.
I love Janoskis.
Stefan Janoskis are so great. It's honestly like if Sperry's were cool. like that's the way I've used Janoskis, because they have a Sperry feel to them. They got the leather laces. They have the but like the way they secure is really nice. Mm-hmm. Because the actual lace holes themselves are like freestanding. Mm-hmm. And then they go over the top, so they fit really nice. And then other than that, I like the I'm not a big fan of low top Blazers, but I like the Blazer mids.
Oh, I love Blazers, yeah.
Blazer, those are, if I'm trying to have a stylish skate shoe, that is my absolute favorite shoe.
Yeah.
The Blazers are just so clean. There's these Blazers I've been trying to track down forever, and I was trying to track them down in high school. They're the Blazer mid-range, and they're like maroon. And they're maroon, and they have a white swoosh on the side.
Oh, nice.
And I haven't been able, I can find them online, but they're always like really expensive. But there was this kid at my old high school, Reagan. It's Heights High School now in Houston. But he had them, and I had the black Blazers, and we were like the only two people I could saw wearing Blazers at school. But we'd always be like, man, because he wanted the black ones, even though they were basic, and I wanted the maroon ones. And I was like, bro, let's just trade while you mess around. He's like, bro, I'll wear a 10. I'm like, oh damn. Like,
Yeah, so they're not really compatible foot
yeah,
sizes.
I wear like an 11 and a half or a 12.
Wow.
So I mean, well, I get 11 and a half more than 12 because they have more styles in my size at 11 and a half than they do at 12. Like I've just noticed in certain stores, like the 12s are always sold out or they're like short-handed on size 12s in design, so I end up getting 11 and a halves all the time.
Oh yeah, and see, I wear a size 9, and when I'm shopping on StockX, I guess because 9 is kind of like in the middle range of shoe sizes. Mm-hmm. It's more like an average foot size, so it makes sense that it's harder to find 9s. Because that's more in the. If I had a really small foot or a really big foot, it might be easier to find shoes. But since I'm kind of in the middle of the road, it's more common that those are going to be sold out a lot faster.
Yeah, and then if your foot's super huge, it starts getting rare again, like 13 and up.
Oh yeah,
you can't find, because whenever like my friend David, shout out David, Planetary Sound. He's a trance EDM artist, cool. Music artist. But he, like, I was gonna do some shoes for him a while back, and like I found some 13s that were white. They have a brown gum on them. And
that'd be nice.
Yeah, and so I was gonna do them for him, but then he kind of fell off for a minute, and then he came back. But I had another guy here in Galveston, shout out Mike, wanted some Christmas shoes, so I did like a Christmas design, and I could actually pull it up. They're like these two like Santas that look all like grumpy, because he wanted some. Oh, here we go. He wanted some like Santa Claus shoes, so there's those right there. But those are size 13.
Oh, those are awesome, and yeah, he does look. It almost makes me think of like the stereotypical drunk Santa at the mall.
Yes, absolutely.
Like he's having to drink just to cope with the fact that like that's the gig he has.
Oh yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, the Santa Claus never look happy, do they?
No, they don't. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be. That's
right.
That's way too much noise for me.
Oh, this kid's screaming on your lap all day.
Yeah, no, thank you. But I actually and speaking of custom shoes, I cannot wait to bring you a pair of white Vans so that you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Work on them. I am very excited about that.
Absolutely, bro.
The idea of having a pair of custom-made shoes by an artist that I actually know would be really cool.
Well, and honestly, man, it's actually definitely an honor to be part of your shoe collection.
Oh, well, thank you.
Because you have a very extensive collection of shoes. I mean, like I'm a shoe collector, but you take care of them and clean them. Like I beat all mine up, and they eventually make it to the chopping block of the skateboard. Eventually.
Oh no.
Once they get beat up enough. Well, I mean, because like because here's my thing is like I get so excited about getting new shoes that whenever like I burn a pair, I'm like, all right, let's go. Like I'm stoked. I mean, I do have my couple pairs I keep clean though, like my maroon ones up there on the top. Like those are my shoes.
I see a pair of brown and maroon.
Yeah. So the brown, those chocolates, those are Steph's.
Okay.
And then the maroon ones with the brown gum, those are my show shoes. So whenever I play shows with
those
my
are
band,
nice though. Those are nice.
Whenever I play shows with my band, like those are my shoes I play. Those are my lucky show shoes.
Nice.
But then I got my peanut butters down there.
They're
They're kind of like lugs. They're like leather. They're kind of like the lug boots. And then I got also my black ones down there. I've been skating a bunch. And then my flamingo lawn chairs are my skate shoes.
I was gonna mention that I would love to have a pair of shoes with just those pink flamingos on them. That'd be great.
Yeah, it was like when I saw them, there were flamingos and lawn chairs. I got those pairs for $20. Dude, go stop by the Vans at Tanger.
I would love to, yeah.
Because honestly, right now, right before summer is a good time to go, and right after school gets in, like around the end of August, because that Tanger outlets, they get a lot of send backs. So whenever all the Vans at like the Galleria, the Memorial Mall, Baybrook Mall, whenever they get a lot of returns and send backs, they'll send them to that Tanger, that outlet. Because at the outlet, you get a bunch of shoes and boxes that are all returns. They might have a slight scuff on them, but
that's okay.
But if you know how to clean them,
yeah, exactly, yeah,
yeah, because they don't clean them, they just put them in a box.
Yeah,
I mean they'll spray them with disinfectant and put them in a box.
And since Vans are usually canvas, that's the easiest fabric to clean.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but
you can be kind of rough with cleaning those. You don't have to worry about, and you don't have to worry about messing them up.
And you can find some in there just cheap, like crazy cheap. And any Vans in that store with an orange sticker, they're always buy one, get one 50% off.
Nice.
So you get a pair for 30, find a pair that's $20, you get those for 10.
That's a really good deal.
Yeah, and so
especially if there's some with like, because one of my favorite things right now is anything with a floral print. I'm trying to find a pair of floral Cortezes from Nike, and it's hard to find one that I like.
yeah. So like, yeah, but you just like, I go in there like with no, I mean, I do have expectations. So whenever I go in there for clients, and I'm getting shoes, like Steph and I will go in there and like I'll check out the discount shoes first, see if I can find any with white or maybe like, because usually the only ones they have over there that have white fabric, they have a special gum on them, whether it's gray or like brown or light brown. So I'll usually get them like sometimes green. Like one time I found some green ones. I think I still have them. Like they got green gum on them, but they're white.
Okay.
But those will be discounted. But Vans knows they can make money off the all white, the true white skate highs.
Oh yeah, just
like
that
so
pure
those,
tonal.
Those are always going to be $60-$65, like always.
Oh yeah.
So, but if you find the good ones, like that's, I mean that if I have to go get the shoes, I put an extra $10 on the tab. But I tell people my secret. I'm like, go to Tanger, go get some shoes, then bring them to me. It's cheaper. Like you know what I mean? Because if I gotta go get them, I've got to put a tax on that. Just because it takes time to go over there.
Yeah, well, it takes time, and also looking for a specific size.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So artists out there, make sure if you're having to do extra work for commissions that you get charged for your time.
Yeah, your time is valuable.
It's very, very. I mean, that's all it is in art. You're basing it on how long it took you to do it. That's just what it is. I mean, and also that's not just the linear time it took to do the actual product. They're also paying for the time you put in developing your craft. So, if you've put, thousands of hours in this over time and your art's worth a certain amount, make sure you own that. Mm-hmm. Because some people try to undersell you. They're like, oh, these are the shoes. Why do I need to pay this? And it's like, well, I guess this isn't going to work. I've had to turn down people like that before.
Yeah, because you should know your own worth, and that's not just in what your worth is, not just what it is worth monetarily, but also just who you are. Just like always know your own value.
Yeah.
And never cut any corners in that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't cut the corners, and then also, whenever people try to get you to do something that you don't do, and I struggle with this all the time. I mean, like Steph hears me complain about this sometimes, where I'll be like, "Oh man, he wants me to do this. I really don't want to do it, but I kind of said yes already." And it's like if you don't want to do it, or if they're trying to get you to do something that's out of your skill set, or just plainly out of something you just don't want to do, just say that. I mean, like missing a sale sucks, but there's always going to be another one.
I think it is hard for a lot of us to say no because we want to. I guess I don't know. I guess we want to make people happy. We want to, please people, and so we want to say yes. We don't want to sound like a jerk. We don't want to sound dismissive. We always want to say yes. We always want to try to accommodate people, and that's good until it starts to hurt you, until it starts to make you no longer enjoy what you're doing. If it starts to diminish anything about you, then you're sacrificing that for them, and that's not fair.
That's real. That is real. And because whenever you're being an artist for a living, I mean, like you're selling your passion, you're selling your blood, sweat, and tears here. So make sure you respect it. And if it's something that's gonna like push you over the edge and make it not fun for you, then just don't do it.
No.
And I have to tell myself that all the time to get on it, but it has to be done. So man, I guess from that, man, we could segue into the comic books here.
I would love that.
So, and like you were saying before, the reason why you get into comic books and especially shoes is the art. I mean, especially for me, I was totally a picture book kid. Mm-hmm. Like I love.
Still am.
Exactly. Yeah. I like even if there's pictures every now and then, I'm cool with that. I think that's why I could do the Harry Potter books when I read those, because every chapter there'd be a little cartoon at every chapter.
Yep.
And I'd be stoked for that because that little cartoon would set my mind of like what to expect or because like whenever you're reading, you're playing out the scenario in your head and trying to watch the movie in your head while you're reading it. So having that little bit of picture just helps me learn better, or helps me absorb it better.
Yeah, it gives you this little frame of reference.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of when I was a little kid, real quick, and I used to read this one book of scary stories called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
I have all three in my closet.
Yes, and the artwork on those, that black and white, sketchy, kind of sloppy looking art was so chilling and creepy to me as a kid. It's still objectively creepy.
It is like the first one's really like the chick that has the hole in her face with the
Yes,
spiders
yes.
and yeah, and the clown with the pipe on the house is like
And somehow that got sold at the Scholastics Books Fair when I was a child. Don't know how that got passed, but
Yeah, I have the original copies actually. Yeah, so the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I got the 3 original copy books there. There's 1, 2, and 3. I think the first one came out in like '89 or something. It says it in the front.
yeah, on the I think they call it the copy page.
Yeah, the copy page where they have all the legalities and all the stuff on the front.
Yeah, 81.
81. Yeah, so yeah, so
It's been a minute.
yeah, so those books were like terrifying to me as
Oh,
a
they
kid.
were.
I mean, they tore
The
it.
covers are gorgeous.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, yeah. Stephen Gamel's art is crazy.
Oh, it is.
He's great. Actually, I took a lot of inspiration from him because I like that he uses black and white, but just does a splash of color, just like a small splash of color, because it just makes it really pop, especially when he's drawing those like scary things. And they got a different artist on that third one. I think it's like Alan Schwartz or something, or on the second and third.
They all say Steven.
Oh, is it Steven?
Yeah, no.
Or is Alvin Schwartz the art? The
He
author?
is.
He's
He
the
is.
author,
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, okay, that's what it is. Yeah, but man, all of those are good. The third one isn't too scary compared to the first and second. They kind of just slapped that one together, in my opinion. But the first and second one are really good.
Oh, they are amazing.
So I guess who would be, and we can jump right into, who are your top comic book artists, you would say?
Well, for sheer influence and would probably be a man named Jack the King Kirby. So when Marvel Comics began, there really were 3 men. There was Jack the King Kirby, Stan the Man Lee, and Steve Ditko. I don't think Ditko ever had a nickname. at least I've never heard it. But these 3 guys basically began Marvel. They are the holy trinity of Marvel.
Yeah.
And so with Jack Kirby, he just had these wild, outlandish ideas. These larger than life, galactic characters, and his artwork was not meant to look realistic. His characters were very blocky and very bulky characters.
Yeah.
But the colors he would use were incredibly bright and vivid, almost kind of neon colors. So everything just really popped off the pages. Mm-hmm. But it's more than just his artwork. It's the fact that he created a lot of the characters that we know in the Marvel comics. I mean, Stan Lee was doing most of the writing, but Kirby and Ditko were doing all the art. But Kirby was doing a lot of the actual character creation.
Yeah.
Like he came up with Thor. Granted, he didn't come up with it, but he was the one that brought Thor into the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
He came up with a Black Panther. And so he came up with a lot of the classic characters that we know and love. And so I love him just because of what he did for creating these characters and also his ideas that were far ahead of his time.
Oh, could you share with everybody the story of of King Kirby about to go whoop up on some neo-Nazis?
Yeah, so, Jack Kirby, he fought in World War II. Being of a Jewish ancestry, he felt even more emboldened, he felt it even more important that he go and fight this force of pure evil, really, trying to sweep across all of Europe. And so he went out there and he fought on the beach of Normandy. He was one of the lucky few that survived that attack. And when he came back to the States, he went back to work for Marvel Comics. And he's up in the bullpen. He's upstairs. He's working on his, on on his panels and his covers, and all of a sudden they get a phone call from downstairs at the main office, or at the front desk, I should say. And there's these couple of neo-Nazis down there because I almost call him Stan Lee. Jack Kirby had done a cover of Captain America, a very famous one where he's punching out Adolf Hitler. It's a very satisfying cover.
Yeah.
And so these two neo-Nazis saw that and they took umbrage at it. And so they come to the front office and they said, look, man, we want to see the guy that drew this because we want to show him what a real Nazi would do. And, they were just all full of bluster. And so they call up and they tell Jack Kirby this. And Jack Kirby hears this. And he literally rolls up his sleeves and was prepared to march down there and show them exactly what he would do to them. So he was fully prepared to actually get into a fist fight with these dudes. But by the time he got down there, they had just left. So, which is pretty much what you expect. They're cowards.
Yeah.
They're all talk, and then when someone actually confronts them, because they weren't probably expecting someone to confront them, especially an older man. Mm-hmm. But when he actually decided to show up, they fled. So that's another reason why I love him so much, because he was a man that really stood up for his principles. He never backed down from a fight, ever. Whether it was creatively or in the war itself, he never backed down, which is something obviously he put into Captain America and into Black Panther.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he kind of instilled his natural character of never
Exactly.
of never giving up, and honestly, he probably these comics, and especially because back then, I mean, like PTSD wasn't really talked about as much as it is now.
No, it wasn't. They called it shell shock.
They call it shell shock, and making these comics for these guys and having that kind of expression probably helped him a lot.
Oh, it did. Yes, it most definitely did. Yeah.
Yeah, because not a lot of people think about that. Like when a lot of these old war comics. I mean, that's something my dad told me about. I have a couple of these these comics in here, like old war. Let me see, I got it. Where they're like, I think they're like crazy weird war stories or something like that. Whatever it's called. Oh, here it is. Weird War Tales. There's like a bunch of issues.
Weird War Tales. Oh wow.
Wow. And stuff like that. They would, because my grandfather and my great grandfather before him, Floyd Mahaney Jr. and Sr. They both served, but they collected these war comic books because especially whenever my great grandfather was in Korea, he was a colonel in the Korean War. And he would always be reading these comic books because the comic books would honestly give him the courage to like go out there and have that, installation of a hero. I mean, just, how like even, watching cartoons of superheroes get kids hyped up.
Yes,
or you
exactly.
watch something that gets you stoked, like that would kind of, and all, especially these comic books having like weird things that they can relate to.
Exactly. And they would send these comic books as care packages to the front lines.
Yeah.
Both DC and Marvel would just send comics to the troops, so they could have something to read during their downtime. Because it is a lot of downtime. It's a lot of sitting and waiting. So they would send these books to them. And this cover alone, this cover of a soldier screaming, "Help! Help me! I can't see!" And he's just got this, just that artwork of that just terrified face is incredibly powerful.
Is that a play on the mustard gas?
I believe so. I mean, I would think so.
Yeah, he's getting blinded by something, and then there's the hand of death reaching out to him.
Yeah, that's very powerful.
Isn't that crazy?
That's an amazing cover.
Yeah, and like all of the covers of these issues have like crazy stuff on them. Like it's nuts. But just having comics like that and something that they can relate to and read and gain inspiration when it feels like everything's hopeless.
And also to like let them know that people over here are thinking about them, that they're not forgotten, that they, even though we're so far away, we still are, going to be supportive of you, and we know we're, like I said, we're not just going to let you just find out there alone.
Yeah.
We're going to send you stuff to remind you of home.
Yeah, exactly. And that was huge. I mean, other than that, like my dad interviewed my great grandfather like a couple years before he passed, and they would talk about how I thought this was weird, but I mean I understand it completely. But they would like I guess like the brothels in Korea were huge for the guys because a lot of the guys would go and not even go for sexual favors. They would go just to be held and cry and feel the warmth of someone holding them and someone because they can't do that with their guys.
No, no.
Like they can't go and fully express to their dudes and say, "Could you hold me and let me cry for a minute?" Because your fellow soldier dude's not going to do that mostly, you know.
Especially further back in time. Yeah.
Further back then, whenever the whole be a man aspect was different, So like that, like I remember, my dad whenever I was like 16, my dad showed me the tapes where I could listen to Daddy Floyd's stories and stuff, and they're crazy. Like there's stories about him being like trapped in a hole with just a pistol and like people like coming in, and he had like as soon as he like killed enough dudes that fell on top of him, like he was able to hide. Like crazy stuff like that. Like I'm just like, what? I can't even imagine that. Like being in that situation. But just the kind of stuff they went through and the stuff they used as coping mechanisms, and that how like art and comic books, like how much how big of a part that played. I thought that was amazing. Like that
It really is.
Yeah, it is very much so. So for your comic book collection, what would be like your top titles that you like to read?
My favorite book will always be Watchmen by Alan Moore.
Oh, like The Watchmen?
Yeah, the comic book that he did back in the 80s. It was a 12-issue story drawn by Dave Gibbons, who's also another fellow Brit like Alan Moore. Have you read the Watchmen comic, or have you seen the film adaptation by Snyder?
I've seen the film.
Okay, it is close. It is close. I mean, it gets the spirit correct. But that is one of my favorite books of all time because of his whole treatise on superheroes. Alan Moore doesn't really like superheroes. He has this idea that if someone like Batman, if some guy dresses up in some outlandish costume and then goes out at night and beats up criminals, that person probably isn't okay.
Yeah.
Like there's probably a lot of neuroses going on there. There's a lot of issues that need to be addressed in a more professional manner than just going out and putting people into traction. So he didn't really like heroes. He didn't like superheroes. He thought that idea meant that they were all very broken people. Anyone that would choose to do that. And so in that comic, all the heroes are deeply broken people. None more so than the character whose name is Rorschach. Or I think his name in the book is like something Kovacs. He was the one that had that mask that would always change
The
to
white mask.
Yeah.
He wore the trench coat and shit.
Yeah. Now, granted, his childhood was absolutely horrific, but what he became later is really sad. He became a deeply flawed person with a lot of crippling behaviors, and people would come up to Alan Moore and say, "Oh, Alan, I love Rorschach. That's me. I'm Rorschach." And Alan would be like, "You really don't want to identify with him, and the fact that you do kind of scares me."
Right.
It's like, that's not a person to look up to. You think you got the wrong message out of my book.
Yeah.
Completely. So that's my favorite novel of all. That's my favorite graphic novel of all time, because the way it's written to me is right up there with any other great works of prose. Because of his treatise on superheroes and what it means to be a superhero.
See, I got a similar message like that from reading, because I read this before the movie too, Sin City, the Frank Miller.
Oh, yes, another great.
And also 300, Frank Miller did that too. But what I liked about Sin City, it was the same thing. Like they were quote unquote heroes, I guess, but they were all just troubled, broken people.
Especially Marv.
Yeah, especially Marv. And honestly, Marv, I love what Mickey Rourke did with Marv in the movie.
He brought the character to life.
Dude, he killed it, dude. Like, it was so good. Like, and just, I love with that movie too, how like the blood's like bright neon orange and shit, like they have, but like the way Mickey Rourke killed it with Marv. Especially whenever like at the end, whenever he's dying, it's sad when he's in the electric chair, but that it takes him like 3 zaps to get him, and like they zapped him, he's just like, is that the best you got? And he's like spitting, and he was like, and then he hit him again, and he was just like, I'm still here, blah, 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 like talking shit. And then they just like, dump it on him, and then he's gone. But dude, Marv was just such a badass. Like,
He was, but it's weird. Is like he was a down and dirty, rough and tumble brawler.
mm,
But he too had kind of a sad story where he was taking care of his mother, who was blind, and needed a lot of assistance. He was clearly on probably some fairly strong medication.
oh yeah, he was like popping pills the whole time.
Yeah, because I don't know if I don't know if it was. I'm guessing he was.
It's like pain medication or something.
Well, I think he was schizophrenic. He was deeply schizophrenic because he did want to generally help people, and he saw someone in help. He saw someone in danger, and he had this gut reaction to go and help them. So he was a good person. Deep down, he was. But I think because of his mental illness, he also, would go a little harder than he needed to. He would take it further than he needed to. And
like
he would.
viciously murdered.
Yes, exactly, exactly. It's like, okay, you're trying to help, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do this, and you're kind of going overboard.
Like when he busts into that place that has like the creepy cannibal kid with the glasses.
Oh,
yeah, dude, that's a creepy ass part in the movie. Was that Daniel Radcliffe playing that character?
oh no, that was the guy.
Elijah Wood.
Oh yeah, Elijah Wood played him, and it was amazing.
He
played him so well.
So creepy. Have you seen Sin City stuff? We have to watch the movie. The movie is nuts.
You really should, yeah.
And it's like in black and white comic book style. Like the rain is obviously like tinsel foil, like, but it's cool the way they did it.
Because it's very stylized, and it's meant to almost completely mimic the art style by Frank Miller, who Frank Miller describes his own artwork as a wrecking ball, and that's a pretty apt description of his artwork.
Because he uses a lot of black. It's like very bold,
and it's not polished. It's not refined. It's just blunt force.
Yeah, and he does kind of like what Stephen Gamel does. It's all black and white with just splashes of color, and it just makes it just really pops.
Yeah, because the contrast is that's like the hardest contrast you can get. So
yeah, absolutely. So I guess with so the Watchmen's your absolute favorite.
It is. Watchmen, to me, nothing stands above that. Just because it also talks about the. Sorry, I have a bit of a stutter.
No, that's fine.
The political climate at the time with Nixon and Vietnam and just how troubled that time was for our nation. And Alan wanted to tap into that, and he wanted to tell this what-if story. Like, what if Nixon got another term? What if the worst thing happened? This guy got another 4 years. This is what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, he took something that was very prescient and he brought it into the comic, which the show on HBO did the same thing. There was recently a Watchmen show on HBO that I was not looking forward to, and I was very skeptical of it because I thought, how are you going to possibly compete with that? That's a very high bar to try and attain again. You're going to try and get lightning in a bottle twice. Good luck.
Yeah.
But instead of trying to copy Watchmen, it sort of takes on the sort of like Alan Moore's mission statement and just does it for another prescient issue, which is racism. So that's what they tackle in the Watchmen show on HBO, is showing how that kind of culture that was so prevalent in the last story because of Nixon getting another term, how that emboldened these people to truly be the worst possible selves they can. And now we have to deal with that. And it's a really good show. But
No, that's awesome. No, so what comic book, if you remember, got you hooked on comics in general? If you remember the title that did it.
So I was a bit of a late bloomer when it came to reading. I was in a developmental reading class, and so comics were sort of my gateway because I figured, well, there's fewer words, it's less daunting to me, plus there's amazing artwork, so let's use this to like dip my toes into reading, and that kind of built my courage and built my confidence to read. Because then I thought, wow, this reading is really easy. I don't know why I was so nervous to read in the first place. So I don't think there was one specific book that got me into it, but the character that got me into it was Batman and the X-Men. Those are my two favorite books as a kid. It was anything X-Men and anything Batman. And especially the X-Men comics that were drawn by Jim Lee.
Yep.
Anything drawn by Jim Lee back in the 90s and the X-Men was just gold to me.
I have a little book by him. It was like creating the X-Men. I got it at like a Scholastic school book fair.
Oh, fantastic.
But it's like really thin. I have it in there. It's like creating the X-Men.
And he's a great person too. He's a wonderful guy. Yeah, but for me, like, it was anything Batman. As far as the Batman story is concerned, since you've already talked about Watchmen, and I know a lot of people are going to say this, and I know it's a very easy to go to answer, but I loved The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller.
Yeah. No, that one was really good.
That story of
He did did you read The Killing Joke?
Oh, I did. That was by Alan Moore.
That was Alan Moore's?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that was Alan Moore. Frank Miller did Dark Knight Returns and Batman Year One. Year One was with a very different art style. Dark Knight Returns was actually Frank drawing it, and just this idea of a old Bruce Wayne who's can't get around nearly as well as he used to. I mean, he has been beaten up so many times, has so many broken bones, probably has no cartilage left in any of his joints, but he's still like an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah.
And he has to go out for, he has to have like one more battle, one more fight with this gang called the Mutants. But yeah, so probably those two. Yeah, probably The Killing Joke and The Dark Knight Returns from Batman were my favorite Batman stories.
So with the old Batman, did they do any tie with that to like Batman Beyond? I don't remember Batman Beyond. That was like old Bruce Wayne. That might have just been a cartoon, not a comic.
Yeah, it was a cartoon first. Batman Beyond was a cartoon first with the character named Terry McGinnis.
Yeah, the kid
who sort of like took on the mantle. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they were inspired by that. Like, I'm sure they saw The Dark Knight Returns and saw this old Batman that sometimes even needs like the help of like an exosuit just to move.
Yeah.
I'm sure they took that and went, you know what? What if we just continued that through line? What if he stayed retired, but someone's got to pick up the mantle?
Yeah.
So why not Terry McGinnis? Mm. And that's a really underrated show, too.
Dude, I loved that show as a kid.
Very underrated.
Because, like, old Bruce Wayne being all, like, old and crotchety was hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's always crotchety. Now he's old and crotchety. So
exactly. And he's got this kid that's, like, angsty, senior in high school. That's always trying to, like, go after the first bad guy he can see. And, like, he's always, like, he's real ready to just jump in. And I love the suit, the black and red with the slick.
With all that tech. And also his face is fully covered now. There's no chin hole. There's no face.
No, it's like it was a full body suit.
Yeah.
And he's not trying to he's not
no,
not
actually,
like this.
Here's the thing. Here's the reason why I like his character so much is because he enjoyed being Batman.
He did.
Batman brooded a lot. He was his hobby was brooding, and he did it professionally. He was really good at it. But he never really enjoyed fighting crime. But I think it makes sense considering how he began, considering what his impetus is for fighting crime. I can understand why he wouldn't really get any jollies out of it. Mm-hmm. But Terry McGinnis didn't have that. He didn't have that trauma that was his catalyst.
Man, did you see?
So he enjoyed it.
Did you see the new Joker movie?
I did. I have very high praise for that film.
It's a great movie. Steph and I saw it. It was amazing. We loved it. I loved how in the end they tied in the whole riot he caused by shooting the guy on TV is when Bruce's parents got shot. I was like, what?
Yep. Down the alley, right after seeing The Mask of Zorro, or whichever Zorro film it was, because it's always a Zorro movie of some sort.
Yeah.
And I really wish that DC would continue doing films like these that are completely insular, that don't have to tie into some larger narrative. Because granted, it works for Marvel, because Marvel laid that track systematically, and they built up to it.
Yeah.
DC tried to do what Marvel did in like over the course of 20 years in just 3. You can't do that. You can't get to where they are now in a fraction of the time.
Yeah.
That's why all those films felt so rushed and so sort of just kind of slapped together, really, because they were. And so, by doing a film that is completely insular, they don't have to worry about it tying into anything. They can just focus on the narrative. They can just focus on telling a good story without worrying about it stepping on the toes of what's coming next.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably very freeing for the writers, so they can just tell the story.
Exactly. They can focus on the story at hand and not have to think about 3 movies down the line while they're making the first one.
Exactly. Because then you start compromising and compromising.
Yeah, exactly. And so then you kind of start, like we were talking about earlier, you start making the art for something else while you're still trying to do one thing. You know, you got to just slow down.
Exactly.
So man, I guess kind of to close out here, there's something I ask everybody that comes on the show, just for the listeners, and of course, like we were talking about before we went recording, about how, like, you know, why do we have to grow up? Why can't we just read comics and stuff? What could you tell some of the listeners, if they're listening, that are maybe getting some flack for wanting to collect comics or do their thing, or maybe want to start collecting because they've been passionate about it, or like what could you tell them to be inspired and to go for it from your own personal experience?
Well, I'm going to be kind of echoing a little bit of, and I'm trying to remember his name. Give me a second. I'm kind of echoing something that Will Wheaton said, the guy that played Wesley Crusher on Star Trek, The Next Generation. And Will Wheaton's been a nerd his entire life, and now he's probably closer to my age, probably like in his mid to late 30s. And someone at a convention had the same question for him. Someone got up during a Q&A and asked Will Wheaton, you know, what do I do? I'm being bullied at school. I'm being picked on for reading comic books. I was picked on personally. I was picked on a lot in like elementary through high school for reading funny books. And something he said that I thought was pretty much exactly exemplifies the way I see it is, don't let anyone make you feel bad for loving what you love, because that gives them way more power than they deserve. And so instead of giving them that power, and instead of letting one person ruin a life of passion, don't, just keep loving what you love. Because I think it's kind of ridiculous how a person can have his man cave that's full of sports memorabilia, signed jerseys, signed footballs, signed hockey sticks, and that's okay. Like, that scene is okay. Like, there's nothing weird about that. But a guy has a room full of comic book prints that are framed and matted, and pop culture statues that are on display, and that's weird. Like, one fandom isn't any less than another fandom.
Exactly.
I personally don't care for sports, but I'm not going to insult someone or in any way demean them for loving sports. So therefore, I don't want them doing the same thing to me. I will let them enjoy what they love, because that gives them some kind of fulfillment, and this gives me a great deal of fulfillment. And that's all that matters, is if what you love makes you happy and it's not hurting anyone, then go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I definitely agree. I mean, like I was telling you before, and I'll say this, and fuck anybody that doesn't like this, but I've played World of Warcraft for 13 years, and I love it.
That game is amazing.
Steph
That lore is amazing.
Steph plays too. She loves it. And
nice.
You know what's funny? I used to get picked on for that in school too. And and like the always joke is just like, oh, whoa, Devlin, you play Warcraft and you have a life? I'm like, yes, motherfucker, I have a life.
I have a life.
Like, I was like, it's a video game. I was like, because here's the thing, is like, even my friends that would mash like tens of more hours than me a week on Call of Duty would still rag on me. And I'm like, bro, you're literally doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what we're doing? We're both sitting in front of a screen
with a keyboard and
doing
mouse.
this. We're doing the same thing. And he's like, well, I use a controller. I'm like, okay.
So could I.
Just invert the hands.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, like we're sitting here fondling pieces of plastic.
It's escapism. It's just really fun escapism.
It's escapism. No, exactly. It's a way to tune out. And plus, like, Warcraft helps me. Like, if I'm stressed out in the real world, I'm like, cool. I'm gonna check out for a minute. I'm gonna go kill some stuff that I have power over, and I'll be right back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just fun. It's a nice release.
Especially in a world where we don't have a lot of control over a lot of the things that happen to us. You can be going through your day at work. You're just kind of, you're just kind of plucking along. You got this. You got this. And then out of left field, something can come in and completely disrupt your entire day. There's nothing you could have done to prevent it.
Nope.
And you just have to roll with it, and it can suck beyond the telling.
Mm-hmm.
And you have no control over that. But when you come home and you indulge in comic books, movies, video games, when you indulge in that escapism, that's an area where you have some control. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's an area where you have some control over what you're doing. And you can kind of take back that control a little bit, even though it's even though it's not real. You can still sort of take back that sense of control, and you can decompress and forget about the real world for a little bit and just calm down.
Absolutely. Well, man, it's been great having you on, John.
Thank you very much. This has been an amazing experience. This is my first time going on a podcast.
Oh, what?
And I deeply enjoyed it.
Sweet,
That's
man.
awesome.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad we could do that for you, man.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Is there anywhere online that you have any collections? You have Instagram or anything?
Oh no, I don't. I do have Twitter, but I only use it to follow other creatives.
Okay.
I myself don't post anything. I just like to follow those that do.
Well, everyone listening, just take note and just collect your things. Do what you want to do. Like if you're
Exactly.
if you're passionate about something, don't be afraid to love it. Tell everyone you love it or don't. Whatever. You know what I mean? Just as long as you know you love it and you're not letting anyone else's opinions take you away from it, that's all that matters. Absolutely. This has been great, man. I feel inspired right now.
It was wonderful. Thank you.
That was awesome. All right, guys. Well, John, Steph, it's been fun. I appreciate it, y'all, once again. Steph, you got any closing remarks?
No, just everyone remember to keep doing what you do. Keep doing what makes you happy. Don't let anyone else drag you down.
Boom.
Exactly.
There it is. All right, guys. The Artist in Depth podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. Go follow us on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify. We got the YouTube channel coming soon. And also SoundCloud's dropping soon. Apparently SoundCloud's huge for like small podcasts. I just learned this. Well, it's a couple months ago, but I'm just now taking it seriously. So we're going to get on SoundCloud too. So everyone, you can find us anywhere. Just type in Artist in Depth on Google. Find all our platforms. And we'll see y'all next time.
Peace out, y'all.
All right. Live long and prosper.